I decided to undertake a massive project in my survival world, building a fantasy city. Today we're finally breaking through the walls toward the first buildings in the city itself. So heading through the gate, I'm planning on building the Merchant District. This is the city's centre of commerce and one of the richer areas of my world. But before we start on any of that, I have another project to do. I would like to make a blaze farm. One as a source of XP, but also just as a way of gaining blaze rods, because I find killing blazes incredibly annoying. But as you probably know, the nether's dangerous and I run a risk of losing a load of my items, and I don't want that to happen. So before we go to the nether, I want to get a load of potions of fire resistance, as well as some totems of undying, to make sure I'm very safe while working on this project. And as you know, in order to get totems, I need to fight my first raid in this world. So it seems I only have one ominous bottle, but that's not a problem. I'm going to fight a raid over in this village, on the other side of my castle, so the villagers I actually use are still safe. And just to make sure the villagers here are also safe, I'm going to lock them all in their houses. So it seems like the villagers are all done here, so what I might do is just lock them in a box, and then I don't have to worry about them at all. So without any more time to hesitate and wait, I think I should just get into the middle of the village and drink this potion. So after a somewhat successful raid, as long as you don't look at the chat, I think I did okay. I got all my items, which is what matters, so nothing was really lost, except my dignity I suppose, but that's not the end of the world. And I ended up coming out of it with 5 totems and a load of mob heads, which is great. But for now I think I'm going to whack all this stuff in storage and start gathering the resources I need to build this farm. So I've now got all the resources to build a blaze farm. I think I'm going to be using the Shulkercroft design, but then I've also got 3 fire resistance potions, which should last me enough to build most of the farm, plus 3 totems of undying, so I shouldn't die while building it, hopefully. So now I just have to head down to my really beautiful nether portal, and go down the long path that leads all the way to the nether fortress. So I've now just arrived at the nether fortress, and over here I've got a blaze spawner. So what I want to do is, before I start, I want to come down a bit lower, to a point where I'm not going to actually be making anything. And beneath the blaze spawner I want to build out a big flat platform so that anything that falls down is safe and doesn't fall into the lava that lives below it. So because I won't really be able to talk while I'm following the farm tutorial, I'm just going to build the farm now and I'll see you all when it's done. Now I did have to go back halfway through to get more fire resistance potions because 3 wasn't enough. But if I use free cam just to show you the farm, the blazes spawn, fall down, and get pushed by the lava into the hole. Here we go. As you can see there. And then at the bottom of the hole, I can just crouch here and kill them. I think now it's time to get to work on the Merchants District. And the bit I want to do today is just adding in this side of the road. So I've been in a creative world, sketching it out, I've come up with my design. But there's a few blocks I need. One of them is I need some sulfur. So I haven't actually experienced any of the new Chaos Cube stuff yet, so this is a good time to do it, I think. So now I just have to fly until I can find a geyser, because beneath geysers you can find the sulfur cave biome, and there I can gather a load of sulfur for my build. Oh, is that? Yes, that looks like it. Brilliant. Okay, I didn't even know they could necessarily spawn in deserts. I thought they were more a cold biome thing. Right, we're going to have to fight off a load of creepers and stuff to get in here, but we have found the cave, which is the important bit. And there's a little eruption. That's very cool. Okay, there was a village just back here, so I'm gonna grab a bed from the village. So let's set my spawn just over here. And I suppose we should start clearing out this area. Ooh, this deep slit coal. Well, I like deep slit coal, so I'm gonna grab some of that. Oh. Got one of the sulfur aquifer things. I really love this watercolour. I wish the potent sulfur would make this watercolour. Is that how it worked? It's such an incredibly cool looking colour. So I guess I'm going to have a look around and see if I can find a better cave, and I'll come back to you once I've found one. So I've been digging out an area here and I have found 2 possible caves. But this one looks a lot bigger, so what I'm going to do is put some light up here so I can find it easily in the future. And I'm going to drop down and start to have a look around. Now all I want to do is grab a couple sulfur cubes as well as some calcite and sulfur blocks. So let's grab a bit of this cinnabar now, because I think the cinnabar is a really cool block. But I have a feeling it's going to be slightly annoying to come all this way together, so I wish there was a way to farm it. But it's not the end of the world. I'm sure that it's just something you're going to have to go, like Tough, where you just have to go and gather it when you find it. Oh, is that? Oh, there's a sulfur cube down there. Perfect. Oh, and there's more here. Okay. I suppose if I just... Can I not... I can't get the little ones here. Okay. Just pop some light down quickly and fight this skeleton. Perfect. Right, oh, and they're carrying a sulfur block for me, that's nice. So, we got ourselves a sulfur cube. So it seems I've been able to make my way out of the cave now. So, I'll just fly up, and I think it's now time to head home. But you know what, I'm just going to quickly go and loot a bit. Oh, and there's another mangrove forest. That's good to know, because my one's getting a bit destroyed. Oh, and it's a big one as well. But I think it's time I quickly I want to get the goat's horn from up here, so I'm just going to pop in and grab it. Well, there isn't a goat's horn in that one. Well, that's a shame. I suppose I should head home now. Let's just see how big this mangrove forest is. And yeah, that's a massive mangrove forest. Oh, and it keeps going. Honestly, I do just really love exploring my world, just finding the natural things. Because sometimes you see an interesting piece of terrain or a cool looking biome. And it's nice to know they're there. And I feel like that's something which I need to learn to appreciate more, because I do really enjoy it. But when you get so caught up in building and stuff, it's quite easy to forget about things like that and not take time. But part of me is quite tempted to do some sort of stream or something at some point, where I just go and fly around aimlessly and see what I discover. Well, I don't know, maybe that'd be really boring, but it could be fun, so we'll see. So it's time to get working on this first build. So what I'm thinking of doing is creating a blacksmith. So I decided to go with a cyan block palette for this build and some warped wood to create kind of a bright, vibrant feel to the city. But then the lower level, where the actual forge itself is going to be tough to make this kind of almost slightly claustrophobic feeling forge. So I've got the first building in place. Now I haven't done the roads or anything or this interior. But if you come up here, around the back, to access the upstairs of the building, I want to put a lava farm in here so I can get loads of fuel and lava and stuff. So we'll have the lava up here with then dripstone and cauldrons down here. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Now I've got plenty of cauldrons, so if I just put them in like this, and then have another row coming along here, that should make them all pretty accessible. And I've also got a load of pointed dripstone that I'm just going to fill in like this. So here I've got 20 buckets, which will allow me to grab 20 buckets full of lava down here. So all that's left to do is head up the ladder and grab a load of these lava buckets. So now with all the lava in place, I can cover this with slabs so that I don't drop any items in or fall in myself. And there we go, we've already got our first lava bucket. That's very quick. Okay. So I finished the interior on the blacksmiths. As you can see, I've created quite a nice little environment here with, I think, a slightly moody atmosphere. So obviously over here I've got the forge itself with an automated bellows that I'll explain later. As basically next door I want to have the shop there providing slightly more technologically advanced stuff, as I want to mix a bit more fantasy than just medieval into this world, especially in the city itself. And then we've got a cauldron of water where the blacksmith could quench any swords or anything he's making. An anvil, a grindstone with a little seat to sit up while you grind to get sharp edges. I've also put a pile of logs, which obviously isn't that realistic, as usually forges use coal. But I thought it added some sort of detail that adds a bit of a feeling that something's going on in this area. So with the forge now done, I think I'm going to move on to the next building. And as I teased, this automated bellows is related to what they're going to sell in this shop. As what I want to do is have a building belonging to some kind of mad inventor redstone engineer. So I want this shop to feel quite small, as if it's kind of been built in a little gap between the two buildings on either side. And having the blacksmith sort of loom over, I think it's going to be an interesting visual idea. So I think it's time that I just start building it. So now here we've got an engineer's workshop, and I think the interior here just feels like they're trying to sell whatever gadgets and gizmos they've created. Then up here I have them working on an old copper golem trying to fix it, and they've got a little bedroom, lots of books on research and stuff. But this is just a little kind of interior for a small, not particularly useful building, but I think it's quite a nice little detail in the world. Now I've left a few gaps here where the next building will be encroaching, but I'm also going to do a bit of redstone, so I need a space here for a daylight sensor. But I think it's time to take a quick break from the city because I've got another project I want to start work on. Now I feel like this area here is a bit disconnected from the rest of the island because we have this weird middle section that's kind of empty, so I want to take some time to fill in a tree line across here as well as fill in some farmland and just generally decorate out this area. With this area I do want to tie it into the forest as we've done over here by using a few of the same tree designs, but also I've got another design similar to this that will go in on the other side just to make it all feel kind of like we're merging out of this sort of more pine tree region, but we still keep some of it to sort of blend the areas together. I added 4 trees in here and I feel like that's looking quite good as a little kind of thicket of trees. But I do want to add one more large tree over here, but this tree is going to have a very different design, and instead of using wood blocks I'm going to mainly use mud and deep slate to kind of create a more interesting and like darker, shadier looking vibe to the tree. So I think I'm going to build that now and then move on to decorating the actual terrain. So the tree is done and I wanted it to look a bit like a beech tree. So that's kind of the look I've gone for here, and I think from a distance it looks quite good. There are a few gaps in the leaves that feel a bit misplaced, but overall from a distance I think it does the job. So I wanted to start by running a stream through from up here. I like to include water in as many of my builds as possible. And there you go, the stream is now flowing down. So the next thing will be, I think, just adding in an extra little hedgerow along here. I don't want to make this into a field because I feel like it would be a bit weird having a field that has trees this close to it. But if we create a little hedge that runs across, it should help segment this area a bit. So now I'm just going to add a little bridge which connects up this area here, something like that. But what I think I might do now is add a little dandelion patch just around here, something more like that. So I'm also going to add some azure bluette, some oxeye daisy and some wildflowers in just to make it a bit more varied. Then if we just add the wildflowers in, this will make some bit more interesting variation in height. And I think something like that's looking quite decent for a little patch of flowers on the roadside. And now I've gathered from my storage room a load of grass, bushes, all that sort of stuff, just to add some more texture to the ground. And if we fly up, this whole area feels a bit more tied in. I haven't spent very long doing this, maybe like 5 minutes, but it's just there to make the whole area feel a little bit more finished. After finishing those trees, I have also realised that I want to add another farm to my world, which will involve coming over here to this building that's remained empty for quite some time. But I want to use it as somewhere to put one of those oozing potion slime farms. So I thought I'd just add one in here to give a use to this otherwise empty building. But I'm pretty sure that needs armadillos, so I'm going to have to go all the way out to the savannah to try and collect some armadillos. After a long walk we finally got the armadillos here, so I'm going to breed them up while I build the farm. But the next step is to make the farm in this building. Now this building is slightly smaller than the footprint of the farm, but I think if I build it underground, it should work quite well. I've run the farm now once, and it's given some good drops, so I'm going to show you how it works. So over here we have a barrel that I put infestation potions into, and then when I press this button it dispenses one onto armadillos that are in here, and the armadillos are constantly being damaged by a campfire. So when there's enough silverfish that I'm happy, I press this button that drops an oozing potion. If you look in the chest, this is what I got from running it once. So I think it's a pretty decent farm. Now one of the reasons I wanted this farm is also because I realised that if I have blaze rods, I can also use some slime to create magma cream. And with that I can create magma blocks, which means if I want to build a gold farm, I can farm the magma blocks to do so, instead of having to go and gather them by hand. So there we have it. That's another farm added to my world, meaning I can get even more resources now and do even larger projects. So with that done, I think it's time we head back and finally get working on the city again, because I keep getting distracted in this video, and frankly distractions are starting to get in the way of making it. So the next building I want to make is a bakery. Though we spent so long in this episode building random things, I think to get back on track, I'm just going to build this and talk you through it once it's done. And now we've got a bakery in the town, so I'm really happy with how this is looking so far. The interior on this one's kind of basic with just some cakes and stuff on sale, but I think having CT on the street with this kind of slightly curved bit to the building. It looks quite interesting. I've also gone around and decorated the back of the buildings a bit more. So things like we've got a crate of flour, we've got some logs for the fire, and back here we've got some extra seating and stuff, just for some details. I've also had little signs up here for these two shops because I forgot to add them in. And if you look up at these windows, you can see the redstone lamps, because they've got a bit of redstone with the daylight sensor. So when it turns to night, these two windows turn on, which is something I just wanted to include for a bit of detail, and to make the city feel a bit more alive. So now when you walk through the gates, as long as you're only looking at this side, it's starting to feel really kind of built up and like the city's actually coming together. But we still have to do this side. So what I'm thinking I'm going to have is the city guard having a building over here, because it's right next to the gates. I think having like some barracks would be quite interesting. And then I also want a shop belonging to the mining company, which is obviously running the town over here. So I'd be replicating the build style of these buildings. And then I would also like a butcher's and maybe a florist or something. But as the sun goes down, let's watch the windows and see if they actually turn on. This is my first time actually checking it and watching it in real life, so let's see. Oh, there's the first window. I have a feeling this might not work. Oh, it does work. Okay, and there's the second window. And I feel like that just adds a little bit of activity to this part of the build, and just adds a bit of a change from day and night to make this build a bit more interesting. So now, after a quick time skip, the other side of the street is complete, as well as all the interiors that I'm going to be doing are done. So this area is pretty good now, and the feeling of this sort of region being this fleshed out, bustling sort of a city street, I think is really starting to come together. So over here we've got the city guards headquarters, or barracks I suppose, and here they've got a little living space with a kitchen, some barrels for storage, as well as some pile of gold that they're collecting in taxes. And then back here they've got a little training yard. Then if you head upstairs, we've got a little living quarters where off-duty guards will live. Now here, this building, I think a lot of people who have watched the whole series will recognise the style of quite quickly. This is based off the mining company that operates in this area of the world. So if you haven't watched the series, this was my starter base around here, and the point where the builds all expanded out from. And my idea was this entire town was being run by some kind of wealthy mining company, and that's why it's based all around the quarry kind of mine in the centre, which was actually just there because it was my first mine shaft. But I thought this made sense to then, in the city, have the offices of the owner of the company themselves, where they trade all the ores that come through this town. So that's why over here we have an office for the mines. Now back in the street they've got some ores that are being processed to be brought into the yard. And over here they have a little store yard where they keep all the kind of ores they're selling in bulk. Then if you come inside, here we've got the sort of ledgers keeping track of orders. And here's the desk where the person selling the resources are. And I'm thinking here they've got a pile of gold and a stack of coins. Now if you cross past this alley here, we've got a building inspired by one of the buildings in Kuttenberg in Kingdom Come 2. So inside I wanted to make a butcher's and create a bit of a unique style for the butcher's that feels a bit out of place in the rest of the city, but really matches the feeling that I want to make with it being a butcher's. Now if you come through to the final building in the street, we've got the florist. I wanted this to feel like there's a very stark contrast between the florist and the butcher's, because they're completely different vibes. So whereas the butcher's got this sort of gloomy feel, the florist is very bright and colourful, hence why the upstairs is also very bright yellow. And if you come in, there's just this tiny little office where the florist sells their plants from. And most of the shop is actually out sprawling across on the street, because I think that kind of makes sense, as the plants mostly want to be outside, and it feels like it's really, although being in a small shop, it's really sort of spreading out. And then upstairs they've got the florist probably living there or keeping some stuff in here in the sort of house upstairs, but this one obviously haven't done the interior for. But that doesn't matter because no one's going to really see into it. Now I think this region's really come together quite nicely and is capturing the feeling I wanted to go for, of this very bright, vibrant, affluent part of the city. And if you like the video, please consider subscribing, as it would really help me out. And just so you know, I've just started live streaming, so if you're interested, please check it out. Because the last stream I was planning what I'm going to build in the next episode, so if you want to look at the VOD, you'll get a quick sneak peek.